fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Six very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Carolina, where the field is rolling out for the start of today's 400-lap race on this .625-mile racetrack. Here's the starting lineup. On the pole from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9 Coors Ford qualifying and Winston Cup race from North Wilkesboro is underway. Everybody nicely through turns number 1 and 2 as Bill Elliott has the lead and Dale Earnhardt has jumped into second position, followed by Benny Parsons and Bobby Allison.
Georgia, Bill Elliott straining car number 9 to bring it home. 10 car lengths. Bill Elliott, two-time winner of the Great American Race. Now the out of fuel Bill Elliott and Dale Earnhardt is going to win the Trans-South 500, his second win of 1987.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to New Hampshire. We're getting set for the next edition of the NASCAR iRacing Series live on the iRacing Esports Network. There's been so much drama this season, so many twists and turns, and through it all, we've still managed to get some very good racing week in, week out. Been a lot of fun to cover here. Thanks to SimSpeed TV, my name is Ryan Jones, Justin Prince alongside me, and Jay Kennedy behind the scenes. And let's take a look at where New Hampshire is in the great big country that is the USA, Justin.
Yes, indeed. We're just north of Boston today at the beautiful New Hampshire Motor Speedway facility, just more than a mile of length, 1.06 miles to be precise. And one thing of note, very flat banking, underneath 10 degrees of banking in the corners, about 7 degrees in total, 1 degree of banking down the straightaway. It also sees banking around 2 degrees at the first lane of the racetrack, with a little bit of a divide amongst that group. These drivers expect to have a lot of challenges to say the very least, because not only is it cold, with the flatter conditions, it means a lot of off-throttle time in the corners and the potential to snap loose in the corners. And don't forget about the possibility, Ryan, of shifting here at this racetrack.
Yeah, and when you do shift, that can unsettle the rear of the car very easily. So a lot to think about for drivers, even though it is just a mile in length. Qualifying is all I'm thinking about right now, though. We've actually got a tie-up at the top. We did for a moment, until Boyd Hogan improved his lap time. He's currently sitting fastest in of the session so far. Some decent names in the field. We've got Harrison Lyon back again. Patrick Moose, who's been a regular in the series. Will Norton, Boyd Hogan, Jose Solis Jr., all those guys have been regulars so far this year. Jenny Willis, we've seen a number of times as well.
The thing is there, though, Ryan, some other drivers getting a chance to see some top split action who we normally don't see, or some drivers who bumped their way up from second split for tonight's action. Caden Rush, somebody to keep an eye on, very good at the short tracks. He's popped up tonight. Austin Walsh, he's talked about before, he's not as good on the big tracks, but the short tracks, part of his specialty. He's in tonight's event. Keep an eye on him as well. Drivers like Corey Wolf in tonight's event. And don't forget some of the other drivers such as Tommy Gossett, Scott Crump, who would look to try and impress themselves tonight and show what they can do in top split action once more.
You talk about the big tracks versus the short tracks. I don't know if this is just me, but New Hampshire, it's a mile long. We know that. But it doesn't feel the same as, maybe some of the other mile facilities. It feels quite big.
Well, you do carry a lot of speed, yes, down the straightaways, and the reason, though, it's classified as a short track is it's around that 1 mile point. But it doesn't drive like any other one. It's not like Martinsville, where you have to slam on the brakes and you have lots of bumper-to-bumper contact. It's not like Bristol with the high banks. This is a track where you need to be patient. You need to time out your passes perfectly. It's a track as well where tire wear is a major talking point. Could see up to 2 to 3 seconds of fall off today, as well as that difficulty to rotate with so much off-throttle time with the low downforce package seen with these cars this season on the short tracks. This could be a tough one for many competitors, especially to try and make sure they don't have contact and get involved in several big ones.
Let's take a look at the starting grid then here in New Hampshire, and it's Boyd Hogan on the pole. Will Norton will start alongside him, just 0.06 of a second separating those two. Matt Forcarper and Caden Rush on row 2. Patrick Moose and Nelson Rivera starting on the third row of the grid ahead of Robert Miller and Gabriel Mauricio, and then Tommy Gossett and Joshua Campbell, 9th and 10th.
11th spot tonight goes to James Mullins. He showed some good speed at Kentucky last race. For top split action, Jonathan Hernandez starts in 12th. Chris Wohlheit starts in 13th with Wesley Pistol in P number 14. Reese Bayham starts in 15th with Scott Crump back in P16. Spencer Burns says hello to the top split for the first time in a few weeks. He'll start alongside J.D. Willis from Nexus Esports. Alex Kolonik starts in 19th. And rounding up the drivers who put in qualifying times, it's David Cahill looking for some good luck in this one.
And the rest of the drivers obviously set by provisionals. You got Jose Solis Jr., Justin Levine, Lyon, Abrams, Oisin Walsh, Corey Wolf, Jake Hickson, Tanner Love, Zach Hudson, Ty Polito, Sheree, Reed, Baldridge, Carwile, Lyon, Mega, and Sealer is back this week. So, weather conditions for the drivers, 91 degrees Fahrenheit. A lot of cloud cover, but track temp still holding a reasonable amount of temperature in it.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of grip here for these drivers tonight on the racetrack, and this has been a constant in some of the NISs. They've been expecting mostly cloudy skies. The difficulty is, though, the difference between here and what they may have ran in, say, A-Open, not even close. Because in the A-Opens, it's been nice and sunny, about 110, 115 degrees in some cases, maybe 105. But tonight, they'll be tested to see if they're able to hang on with a much tighter racetrack and a more grippier racetrack, and one where you'll see a bit higher speeds going into the corners.
Just waiting for the last of the drivers to get up, which they did. We'll roll away for our pace lap then. So we've got 151 laps ahead of us. Potential to extend that by a couple of laps, should require 1, 2, or 3 green-white checkered attempts, which based off the trends we've seen so far this week, that is a very real possibility. I think in terms of setup, you have to set it up for the short runs. Plenty of cautions to be expected here. It's a tough track. We've seen plenty this week already. Set up for the long run. I think you're taking the gamble, which is pretty much a straight swap of what we normally see in this series.
Yeah, and we may see a lot of tire strategy. There's 3 sets of tires in the pits if it becomes cautions breed cautions, which could really shake up the strategy. Remember, the Cup Series, they didn't even use the last set of majority of the drivers because of how valuable track position is here.
Welcome for the green flag then to get this one underway. Boyd Hogan in control of the field. He jumps on that throttle, and the green flag in here from New Hampshire. The background, and just gonna nose it into the fence. That will bring out caution number 1 here on lap number 1.
Well, that was quick.
Yep.
That's Scott Crump going around, and this was a major talking point for some drivers, is trying to have drive-off ability. If you hit the throttle too hard this week, you're spinning right off the racetrack, and that's exactly what Crump did. As soon as he hit the gas, car said bye-bye to the grip. It could be worse though, Ryan.
Yeah?
It could have been down the front. It could have been down the front stretch.
Yeah, wildly different when you spin on the back versus the front. You see there the replay. How far he had to go to hit the fence, and when he did, just nosed it. Rhea just tagged it. I think he's probably pretty safe with that. Car won't have too much damage. In fact, there's barely any visible on the front end of that machine. Whereas if you spin on the front straight, it's concrete on both sides straight away. Somewhere like Martinsville. A good example of what it looks like. So he'll be thankful at least that's where he made the mistake. He was destined to make it. He made it there. Right place in the racetrack. Puts us under our first caution. Cautions here are 5 laps long. Slightly longer than we expect normally, especially with the shortened cautions coming in to iRacing as of late for a few racetracks. Which gives us plenty of time to talk about strategy, see who comes to pit road. Looks like a couple cars have, including, of course, Crump.
And at this point, I think it's more so not for tires, maybe top off for fuel and go to the back, because it can be crazy. It's been a rough one for some drivers in the midst of the traffic to keep the car clean about 20 laps into a run. So Hickston electing to go for that route, so it has Crump with the damage. Ippolito also going to the back. Gohan also going to the back in the 27. Of note, 3 drivers did elect to start the very, very back of the field of this race. They've already charged up to the field, some of them. Line up from 34th to 26 already. Carlisle already up to P30. Pedro Miga already up to 31st. And this caution did bail out an interesting one to talk about. Guy Sela started from the pit lane, barely even got going before the caution came out.
Now he runs 30 seconds. I mean, pick my words carefully.
Yeah.
I think if you saw last week's edition of the NASCAR iRacing Series at 9 PM Eastern Friday night, and you saw the restart with 5 to go, you'll know what we're talking about. Kevin LePage to the field, and surprised to see him back this week. Either way, I'm sure he's got a lot of making up to do to a lot of drivers out there. He's on the long road now, long road to recovery in terms of getting his reputation back in order.
Yeah, it's going to take a long while, honestly, to try and repair that. He did win a race earlier. On the bright side for him at this racetrack in an A-Open, but A-Open, as we talked about, much more different compared to how NIS can be this week and the nature of the beast that is driving at this racetrack. This is going to be fairly nuts, to say the very least. Of note, though, our current race leader, Ryan, he did win Wednesday night's top split. And I talked with Hogan a little bit earlier today. After that race, he had an additional 3 seconds over the span of 30 laps in terms of a run to try and make sure he had some extra pace to try and win tonight's race.
Yeah, and Boyd's someone that's been in this series all season long. consistently running. And you get the feeling he's been consistently getting better this year, Justin. Towards the start, if I recall, normally running around the top 10, maybe the back half of it, but the last few weeks he's been running right up at the front.
Yeah, he's been getting better and better and more consistent, and he's talked about before that he's wanting to win one of these races on Friday night so bad. Usually, he's been able to win on the Sundays or on the Thursdays, a couple times on the Wednesdays. He's not had any of the luck come to his way, Ryan, here on these Friday night broadcasts, except maybe the closest he's gotten to Chicagoland. This may be his best shot since, because this is one of his best racetracks on the service.
Well, we've got a long road to get there. And for the second time, he'll be leading the field to the green. With every restart comes a high risk for the driver on the pole. Very easy to lose the lead when you go back racing. Lights are out, we'll go back green this time. But amazed at Lion, how he managed to gain 8 spots in just under half a lap, really. See if he gains another 8. Maybe he can gain 16 if you get a full lap under green here. Either way, let's look at the front as we roll back towards that green flag. Hogan and Norton up on that front row, so no change there. Field waiting on Hogan now. And the green flag is back in the air once again. And under our belts.
And nice and clean. The difficult part's going to be corner exit, especially, I think, at the end of the first lap. Some of these tires still very cold. Already a couple drivers up at the front nearly bobbled into each other.
Side by side, that's what for Carper. Down at the bottom of Caden Rush. He'll get by him with no worries. Just behind Robert Miller and Nelson Rivera there, running door to door. And Rivera rolls off, lets Miller go across the stripe. So we get a green lap under our belts. Will Norton was pretty fast on that lap, stuck right to the back of Boyd Hogan.
Yeah, the Bobby the Overhunt Legacy Esports machines and the Nexus Esports machines, 2 of the quickest sets of drivers and cars in NIS so far this week. Caden Rush, though, holding on nice and firm, though, holding on Patrick Moose, despite the fact Moose looking very quick. I think Moose just being nice and patient here.
The middle of the field is a little bit hectic. Jose Solis Jr. all around him. There's a lot of drivers with a big disparity when it comes to pace. They were 3 wide for a moment coming into here, a lap ago, and there was almost contact, but it looks like up there, the 22, Wesley Pistol, was a bit of a cork in the bottle for those 3 cars right behind him. They just can't seem to find a way through. And Solis at the moment is bottled in on the outside with nowhere to go.
And that's the thing. It can be very, very, very difficult to pass that New Hampshire as they nearly go 3 wide.
Yeah, you're able to defend about it.
You're able to defend on the top side. But the preferred line to make a move is the bottom if you can clear quickly without cooking your tires.
So let's thought about squeezing his way up top as now the 33 has a slide coming out of 4. That's Kolonix. That will allow Abrams to get by him finally. Just one of the spots done, and for now Junior will follow him through and he gets some good momentum. So now Kolonix has lost his rhythm and he's going to get done by 2 of them pretty quickly. Oshieta Walsh, Justin Levine, David Hall, all back there as well, looking for a way through. So too Harrison Lyon.
Yeah, you see him in his NASCAR iRacing Series paint scheme, carrying a similar setup, likely compared to what we've seen him at the Brickyard as well. Nice and calm at the bottom side. You see how smooth he's been able to roll that bottom line. That's been one of the main keys, is be able to roll that, then get clear by the time you get to the corner exit to secure the pass. He hasn't been losing too much time by being able to make the moves and having things go right his way, to say the very least, to continue to chug up through the field.
The next cork in the bottle is a side-by-side piece of action between Hernandez and Chris Wilhite. So this big congestion. Mid-pack continues. You can see there, they're all pretty strung out at the front, but then you get to this group, and it is rush hour traffic.
Yeah, and this is the difficult part. One of the main things we've seen in the NASCAR Cup iRacing Series races, the pack didn't break up too much. It has NA opens, but not so much in NAS in the Cup Series with the core track conditions. It may take a little while for things to separate out and for drivers to finally get into a rhythm with how bunched up they are.
14:01.51. So, looking towards the pit stops, obviously they're a way away. 1 mile racetrack, you get a lot of laps under your belt, but when are we looking at the start of that pit window?
Well, essentially on the fuel, it's a one stop. The interesting point is, when do you go for the pit stop? Because the amount of time you can lose by staying out for even only one lap is 3 seconds each and every circuit. Say you try and stretch the end of the run, you may be a full lap down by the time you pit. So it's a gamble to where you can stretch it to about up to nearly 100 laps, about 95 laps the very most in the tank, roughly expected around 85 to 90. Expect a lot of pit stops though if it goes green at the midway point of the race.
Keep an eye on that, of course. The big caveat there, if it goes green. Spencer Burns just managed to complete the move on Gabriel Mauricio, and now in front of him is James Mullins, who we're riding on board with. Looks like we might have actually picked up just a little bit of damage on the front right of his car. In that onboard shot, you can just see a little bit of a crinkle to the bonnet out the right side of the windscreen. That's Joshua Campbell just in front of him. We're looking back now from Campbell's car.
I don't think it's going to affect him too much at New Hampshire. Maybe just a tick down the straights, but not something I think he's going to be quite worried about. In fact, I think he's faster than Joshua Campbell at this point. Here's the downside. Losing tons of time as Walsh having some trouble in the back of the field, gets shot for the 28th.
And that's from that big group of gaggle of cars we saw earlier on. He loses a bunch of spots because he was running up around 20th. Now he's just in front of Scott Crump, who brought out that first and so far only caution.
I think Miga ended up feeding Walsh the quarter panel. That's why he dropped so many positions. Miga pushed up the corner in one a few laps ago, shuffled him right up into the fence. Not what Walsh is going to want to see with the hard contact he had with the wall. All while other drivers such as this are still trying to get themselves single filed out.
Chris Wilhite is searching to see if he can get back by Jose Solis Jr. Not going to happen though. I reckon Jr.'s got the pace. He's already gone up and passed him in this one, but that's a mistake through turn 1. He ran wide, which left him high and dry at 2 and allowed Wilhite to have a sniff. And again, that 3 car of Solis is going to run a bit of a higher line, and wow, that's tight. Hernandez almost into the left rear of Wilhite there.
Yeah, that got really dicey with Wilhite trying to dime in the corner. I think he didn't realize Hernandez was there. This time gives him the spot.
Behind, as they shuffle, JD Willis will lose out to Justin Levine, who's on his way forward. There he is, poking his nose to the inside of Abrams. Riding on board with Wilhite as they go door-to-door behind. And Mania in the background, getting a bit out of shape out of 4.
Yeah, well, he's trying to also follow on through as well. It's been a rough race for him so far, -3. I think that car's been looking fairly sporty in some of the races I've seen, though, with the Nexus machines on the longer run. It's just a matter of getting a longer run. Remember, we're only about 15 or so laps into this run.
Oi, bit of smoke on the bottom side. Was it a spin or just a big lose? Either way, we're still green. Reese Barham, the 31 car. He was having a pretty good run up inside the top 15. Now going to find himself fighting to stay inside the top 25. As Jake Hickson will blaze by him.
He was one of the contenders on Thursday afternoon for NIS Open competition, keep in mind. But remember, if you're too low on the corner exit line, it's so easy where you can just lose the back end and snap it down the racetrack. That was the case with Reese, and now he's struggling a bit to even get himself back into a rhythm, especially with that top line still gathered up with several cars.
Well, he's overheated those tires now from that slide. He's got to wait until they cycle back down. He can't be too aggressive, otherwise they'll never cool back down, as that was a bit of contact, in fact, just behind Reese Barham. Scott Crump, I think it was, edging potentially David Hall up the racetrack.
Yes. And Hall wasn't happy, went over the radio as Crump pushed up the track into him. But look at this, the top three, they're starting to pull away a little bit. Norton's kept a good pace, starting to fall off a little bit though after he got within 2/10. Matt Farquhar has been one of the top drivers the past month or so for Lowline Racing. These three are now the kings of the field so far.
Yeah, last month, Farquhar been at the front of every single one of these races, been very good, and is keeping the pressure now on Norton. I don't think Norton will fight this one too hard on lap 25. If Farquhar gets down to his bottom or a bit of the top, expect him to just roll off and let him go. There's no real point to fight this early on.
Yeah, this is the point of the race where you normally see tons of give and take. Because, let me put it this way, Ryan. If you hold someone up for, say, several laps, they may be inclined to give you the bumper. That's going to be the intriguing part, is if it gets to that point, as should note, second just got a swap. Matt Farquhar was let by, while Nathan Harrison line, rather, is your fastest car on the racetrack, 2/10 quicker than the leader.
Yep, there you can see him now. Farquhar is ahead. Norton came over the radio and let him go down the back straight as anticipated. Not willing to fight this one this early on, recognizing the pace that Farquhar's got. The Lions up inside the top 10. He is very fast, up to starting 34th. A little bit further back, we're looking at the midfield again. We're looking backwards from Jose Solis Jr.'s car as Hernandez is right behind him. Now this is interesting because Junior's already passed him in this race, but Hernandez is looking like he's sticking with him pretty well.
Yeah, looking really solid and trying, I think, work with his teammate Levine right behind him. Remember, those are now both Bobby Dillard's Legacy Sports machines after some reshuffling on that side of the organization. So both of them on similar setups with similar pace after putting in tons of testing for both Road to Pro and NIS tonight.
You can see the different lines they're all taking through the corner as well. Another one of the cool aspects about New Hampshire here in iRacing is there's not one set line through the corner. You can go a little bit higher, a little bit lower, depending on what you need from the car.
Yeah, usually the line I prefer to take a lot of times is try and aim for the second line on entry, arc it up to the third line, and then diamond it off the corner if I can. It's just a matter, though, you need a car that has enough cut to it without snapping off the corner to be able to rotate enough to properly run that line. Most have been trying, it seems, to do high on the third line to start the corner, then diamond it off to the second line, as you see here.
You've got to be able to roll the center, though, as you come off the brakes. Roll through, either off the throttle or slowly picking it back up. That's where the ground is made up or lost, because you're either trying to backpedal and continue to slow the car down, or you're looking to get the car turned and angled ready for yourself to pick up the throttle and power off the corner, which gives you all the momentum down the straight to the next corner.
And as though this battle up front, you've seen the line. Matt Farquhar's been able to find something a little bit different, it seems, compared to Hogan. Closed in 2/10 that last time. The problem's going to be, though, can he get side by side?
Let's ride on board with Farquhar then. And let's see if we can compare the lines that he is taking compared to Boyd Hogan. Into the corner, you see he takes a shallower entry and then lets the car drift up half the car's width higher. Then on the exit, cuts right back down again. So he's diamonding the corner a lot more than Hogan is.
Yeah, and how they set that car up looks like it's been able to give them much more cut to do that. And not plow as tight off the corner or slide if you try and get into the throttle. Boyd Huygen, though, looks better, though, in turn 4 compared to Matt, who's better in turn 2.
That's a good example. You can see they're almost the same, middle of the corner, but he's a fraction higher, like half a car's width, if that. And then off the exit, he's half a car's width lower. Same on entry. Drifts it up. Rolling the center really nicely. The car's turning well for him. And that's allowing him to use quite a bit of the throttle quite a bit earlier than Hogan is. And now he's right up to that back bumper.
Curious how long Hogan tries to hold on. Bit of a bobble there. This might open it up. Here we go.
Yeah, Hogan made a mistake. And that's all that Four-Carper needs to get to his inside. For the lead of the race then, a lap 34 for Carper. Just tripped up the racetrack a bit there. Struggled to pull it up on the very bottom of the racetrack. And Hogan is going to fight this one then.
Yeah, I don't expect any less from him. But I don't know how long he can try and hold on with that extra cut right here that Lowline's been able to have this week.
There you go, that's the move done. Won't be a way to come back from here for Hogan. He should clear him through the exit of turn 4. But Four-Carper made a slight mistake, drifted up the racetrack again, but as expected, right there, clears him, and an opportunity to slide up in front. So, the new race leader on lap 36 of this race, Matt Four-Carper, to the front for the first time today. Second race leader after Boyd Hogan.
Yeah, that car is a rocket ship. The interesting thing is, one thing that was being worked on by Hogan a lot today was drive off. I think he's lost that drive off once again, Ryan. This was the worst fear I think some of the drivers had for the organization was, can they exit the corner? He just lost a second this lap with that situation off the corner.
You can often find yourself running pretty well. It's something that's happened to me a few times. You can run very well, and then suddenly it's like a switch has been flipped, and you've got nothing. How's that happen, Justin?
Well, it's partly the balance of how the tire wear comes in for portion of the run, how the car's set up, how the tire is hitting in terms of the contact patch at a specific part of the run, how the fuel is balanced out at a specific point of the run. There are several dozen different factors which come into play in where you have speed at certain parts. And all the teams try to tweak it to their preference to have the most speed possible at this point. Keep in mind, since 2019, a lot of teams have focused on trying to have a lot of corner speed. This is one of those tracks where you need to find that balance of having a lot of straight line speed. We'll also be able to rotate enough in the corners and be able to carry enough momentum in the corners to then, in turn, be good on the launch and the corner exit as we see the battle for fifth.
Patrick Moose trying to fend off Rivera. We just saw a shot a moment ago while you were explaining that of the congestion that's now formed for 22nd. Zach Hudson has a hungry hornet's nest of cars behind him. It snakes all the way down to 31st place with Corey Wolf.
Keep in mind.
Side by side.
Yep. Looks like Reese Bayham has been able to find a bit of pace. Also looking Wolf still trying to find his way a little bit. Here's the thing, though. Eventually, this traffic is going to have to be dealt with by the race leader if it stays green here, and that could be a problem. Because traffic may lose a ton of people time, and some of the Nexus Esports drivers nearly slapped the wall.
This could get a little bit dicey. They're still battling for P5, but here comes Rivera, Norton, and Moose. Tommy Gossett running 7th as well. So these four have condensed on the racetrack right now.
Yeah, Norton's car's fallen off. Patrick Moose has been very comfortable, though, compared to his teammates, it seems, this week. Look at that. Tommy Gossett, though, is cutting up to the field. He's one of the low-line drivers tonight.
Haven't seen him in top split at all this season, I don't believe, and doing a very good job now of showing us the pace he's got. Gonna make up another spot. That's 2 in a lap for Gossett, up inside the top 5.
If he gets caution, there's a chance this team could go 1-2 based on this pace on the long run. This is absolutely blistering quick.
It is, but the big question, is he burning up his tires right now?
There's a possibility a little bit, yes, with him trying to push, but here's the thing. He's only about a 10th off of what his teammate has been able to do in clean air at the moment. A lot of the drivers around him are already about 2/10 off the pace compared to what he's running. So at that point, do you really want to stay behind a car you know could hold you up and put you up for grabs for our positions? No. You want to try and get it done fairly quickly, have them try and let you go, then go from there and focus on your own race until you get to the pit stop window.
Meanwhile, in rush hour, that was Guy Steeler getting by Scott Crump, who's just made his way by Alex Kolonix. Crump as well, carrying a little bit of front right damage. That's from his incident back on lap 1. Won't be affecting him too much on this track. Speeds just aren't that high enough, although they do get up to a pretty decent number just as they hit the brakes into the corners.
Now most drivers rolling at about 90 miles an hour at the corner apex. Give credit, though, to the driver in P6, Nelson Rivera. Very solid driver for the past few years. This is one of his best performances in top split action in the past couple months. The Rue Esports machines, we've seen them improve their performance throughout 2020. They are potentially in line for a top 5 run if they can keep up this pace as the race progresses, as apparently one driver has had trouble with the 33. I think he slammed the inside wall coming off of turn 4, Ryan.
Yeah, damaged the rear of that car. And going to be a wake-up call for him.
It's inside the top 20 before that, and is faster than the cars around him still, but did have a significant hit to that whole left side, as now Zach Hudson trying to get clear at this point in a battle with Johnny Baldridge.
Doc on the outside, going backwards. Going to lose another spot now as that door gets opened up down low. Race leader won't be too far away from starting to put some people a lap down as well. This long green flag run, Matt Forcappa. He's got about 3 seconds in hand over second place at the moment. And he's just crossed the stripe now. In fact, Larry Reid in front of him is about to become the first car to go a lap down.
I'm kind of shocked that Larry Reid's the first lap down because he has been solid. Mind you, in those F5 Motorsports machines on long runs, usually one of the contenders inside the top 10. This has to be one of his worst races in a long time this season. Oh, and by the way, Gossett's ready to try and move up to 4th here.
So Patrick Moose, the man currently occupying that spot. And Tommy Gossett is going to try to take it away. Going to try and set himself up potentially for a move down in 3 and 4 this time. As he gets down on the power nice and smoothly out of turn 2. Gives him a run. Is he close enough to go to the inside? He is. Just squeezes to the left-hand side of Moose's machine. And almost clears him. He does clear him through turn 4. So that's P4 now. Tommy Gossett. And caution is out for the second time today.
And it's Pedro Amiga collecting, looks like Mullins down the back straightaway.
Big damage to the front of that 25 machine.
Very, very rough. It looked like... I think there's a possibility here Pedro just snapped off the corner and I think might have hooked Mullins into the fence.
It's a replay as we ride into one. Mullins down on the inside there. That purple machine washes up. Almost a bit of contact between them. Slow car up top as well. Oh, and that might have been the catalyst for it. As Mega tried to stay a little bit lower off the corner, I think, for that slow car. And Mullins just wasn't expecting it and washed up to where he normally would. And the result, big damage.
Yeah, both of the races going to be very much hampered at this point unless there's some more trouble. But it's going to take a while for some of these drivers to get up to the pace car. Several of them are going to be still spread out apart here with pit stops coming up here.
Yep, everyone on pit road, not much of a choice really. We've had 50 laps under green, and everyone needs some fresh rubber and some more cans of race fuel. How many tyre sets they got went from and done on pit road today, Justin?
This would still leave them with 2 sets, at the very least.
So only 3 sets down there for the entire race?
4 in total for the race, 3 in the pits for these drivers as Boyd Hogan had trouble in his stop.
That'll cost him. Make that mistake when everyone's on pit road, although he's rolled off first. So, good pit stop for Hogan. And the number 1 pit stall coming in very handy. He was still getting up to speed, but he just crept across in front of 4 Carper, so these two are switched around here as they get back onto the racetrack. Right there, Hogan will lead us there.
Oh, look at that! Yes, indeed.
Yeah. There you go.
This is going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. With Hogan good on the short run and Matt Forcappa good on the long run, it seems, tonight.
Watch the race off pit road here. Hogan in that first pit stall has to go about 5 meters to cross that line and just gets there before Forcappa. Perks of qualifying first.
Pit spot selection is very key. Let's put it that way at this racetrack. But the question's going to be how long can he hold on with the pace we've seen from Matt. That's going to be the very telling sign of how much can he pull and how quickly does that gap go the other direction. Keep in mind that most drivers have been trying to build their setups to where it's fast when you don't shift, if that makes sense. Some do shift in 3rd gear, but a lot of them have not been shifting tonight.
The tire equation is an interesting one. Obviously, only 2 sets now remaining for these drivers. Still 100 laps to go. If we get a caution in 20 laps time, another one 20 laps after that, you know, you talk about the drop-off being quite big here. You then just got to start asking some questions about whether you take tires or not.
I think it's going to come down to where the cautions lie and how much of a risk you want to take, because say we get a 30-lap run. You think about, say, do we come down? Because a lot of drivers have talked about they would rather have the track position as the control car specifically than risk starting in the pack on the fresher tires because of the difficulty to cut through the pack.
Can they make it home from here?
At this point, they'd be maybe within a lap. It'd be very, very tight.
So drivers have to start thinking about that as well. On the chance we do go green towards the end, do they want to save a little bit of fuel to get there? But I think you got to look at how the week's played out so far. Even the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, he had comfortably, I think, put money on grabbing a caution before the end. 1 to go. We'll go back green next time by.
Yeah, at this point, unless we get, say, a run that already gets towards 40 to go, we might see people split it. Because here's the thing. Taking the tires at the midway point of a run, even when you're good on the fuel in this for a very, very long 95-lap run, there is more time you can gain by taking the pit stop at 47 to 50 laps into the run. than you would by staying out of the racetrack. In fact, you would potentially lose a lap. So that's something we have to keep in mind as well, which may come into play. A couple drivers in the past, remember, have won NISs by risking it on that strategy, getting a caution within that 20-lap buffer before they lose that lead in a full lap. It could be interesting.
Second restart of the day. Coming to the green for the third time. Noah's Boyd Hogan as our leader from the pole. And leading us once again as Green-white-checkered Hampshire. Good jump for Hogan.
Perfect jump. Everyone else, though, forced to fight side by side for the time being. It could be interesting how this restart goes. Apparently, Wesley Pistol made contact to the pack.
And they're 3 wide deeper in the picture. Down at the bottom side there, they sort themselves out to be just 2 abreast, 2 by 2 in through 3 and 4. That's Gabriel Mauricio somewhere in amongst that mess. Right there, he's one of the only ones single file around that position right now. Really tight up around 4th and 5th. Harrison Lyon now running 4th. Patrick Moose and Tommy Gossett wheel to wheel coming off the corner. Gossett didn't have a great pit stop cycle.
Here's the thing, this caution flag period helped up this man. Nathan Lyon, we've seen how quick he's been driving, and so many of his competitors, it seems, have been impressed with how he's done in these types of races. It just hasn't translated to a lot of major wins at times in the Coke Series. There's a chance it comes pretty soon, especially if he's able to carry momentum from races like this to take away the P3.
I'm going to go back and check something on that caution period for Boyd Hogan. Potentially didn't actually take any tires.
He definitely took tires. We've seen him up on the jack.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did, you're right. Never trust a YouTube chat. He's got half a second in handover for Carper right now. A second back to the line, up in 3rd. Don't think it'll be long before he is challenging for Carper as we ride on board with JD Willis. Down on the bottom of the number 15. This is for 16th place. That's Gabriel Mauricio up top. And just behind him, Jonathan Hernandez ranging up to the back bumper as well.
So again, once more, that rhythm that drivers need to get into at this racetrack. And now it comes the difficult part. Do we see fighting like we did before, or do we see the fuel save? That's is where I think we'll start to see a bit of that balance with some of the pace, and how some of these drivers try and play this out and hold on to the valuable track position, because we've seen some drivers lose 5 seconds in a run. Some of them are back inside their sweet spot on pace, such as Patrick Moose.
Yeah, he's firing off really well. Same scenario as the first restart. But it was a long run where he started to fade. Again, his car might be set up for those short runs. Down at the bottom through 3 and 4. Harrison Lyon as well on the bottom of 4 Carper for 2nd.
And Nathan Lyon is flying at this point. Caution's out. One driver lost it. Justin Levine.
And damage to the front of that car. Looks like he might have nosed it into the concrete up on the outside. Yeah, definitely crunched in. That'll be engine damage, I dare say, for that car, which could hamper it quite a bit. So here he is, coming into 1 and 2 by himself. Rear end steps it now. Yeah, it does. There it goes. Rear end around and overcorrects, and that's how he ended up nosing it in. That's a shame.
Yeah, taking our look, and remember, he was the car pistol actually hit with that right front just way too hard on corner entry. And by the time it just snaps trying to save that car, it just swings right back into the fence.
That's the issue you often have when the rear end comes around. It's not the initial slide, it can be the correction. And the overcorrection that can really bring about the drama. So, no pit stops under this caution. We had about a 10-lap run.
You're not pitting after 10 laps, especially with how many tires are left in the pits. You're staying on the racetrack. You can't afford to sacrifice the track position. Levine, though, we're hearing his engine's been turned off. His race may be done. And drivers are starting to save too, Ryan, with how close the fuel may get.
I think with this caution, drivers will be able to make it home. I think they'll save enough under this yellow flag condition now. As Pedro Mega will get the lucky dog, but unfortunately, his car still does not look up to scratch. His pit crew have not done a fantastic job of repairing that thing.
Yeah, he was starting to show a little bit of pace, mind you, too, before that. But the interesting thing is the driver in second apparently feels like he is not happy with the car. He's told his competitors, as crazy as it sounds, is the fastest driver on the racetrack. Apparently, he says one of his technical alliance members, mind you, Ryan, Graham Bowen, in that Interstate Batteries machine for Joe Gibbs Gaming, overdrove it by a mile, quote unquote. So that's very interesting.
Up 67, 151, under 100 to go. Should get 2 to go on this run. Speaking of high-level NASCAR in iRacing, which is what this is, been slightly distracted by some breaking news out there in the world of iRacing in NASCAR competition, Justin.
Yeah, a bit of a shake-up. Apparently, breaking news, Brendan Klugerman Esports, effective immediately separating a relationship with Ashton Crowder. Not sure the exact reasons officially at the moment, but a new driver for the 77 will be announced at a determined date. So that's now a potential shake-up across the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series to keep an eye on. Ryan.
Yeah, indeed. No word on why exactly that's occurred, but first time since the introduction of the pro teams in this competition that a driver has ended their relationship mid-season with a team. Gonna open the door for someone to fill a pretty good spot with a very highly recognized organization. Justin Prince for Coke, potentially.
Had to go to the qualifiers first. Still a ways away.
Is it on the radar one day?
I've been thinking about it for 2021 specifically, especially with the next-gen car expected for 2022 in real life.
Be something to keep an eye on then. I'm gonna have to get you out of the booth for that. Anyway, we're gonna go back racing this time. Lights are out, and the drivers are formed up side by side. We'll stack them up and get this one back underway. Boyd Hogan loves starting from P1, and he'll do it again for this restart. But Harrison Lyon up there in second for the first time today. Green flag's back out. Racing once again from New Hampshire.
Well, look at some of the blocking in the middle of the pack. My goodness, what was Rivera thinking?
I don't want to lose this spot.
I think there was actually a car in the wall, in fact, with that big of a bobble. I think Miller nearly spun it.
Miller looks pretty decent. He's still running a 9th.
Yeah, but remember, it's so easy to spin the tires here in New Hampshire, depending on your gear ratio. And Miller did start inside the top 6, lost several spots checking up that whole top.
Tommy Gossett, he's back in 12th. What's happened to him? He was as high as 4th before that caution came out 2 cycles ago. Oh, that's a car on the lock stops in the background of the shot. We stay green, but I can't be the only one that saw that, can I?
I think I seen what you were talking about as well. And some of the drivers now trying to discuss over the radio some of the battles in the middle of the pack with their respective spotters.
New race leader out front, Harrison Lyon gonna take it away, and to the front he goes. 34th to 1st, it's taken him 72 laps, he will lead the first time today.
That was coming, but here comes the low-line racing machine now nearly getting to the bumper.
Now Fort Carper wants to follow and try to stick on his tyre tracks if he can. Boyd Hogan might have something to say about that. Caden Rush in 4th. Looking very solid as well. In fact, no real breakaway at all so far in the stint. Rolling up each other.
I'm not expecting quite of a breakaway quite yet. Remember, Matt picked up pace after 25 laps. Again, whatever that team has found ever since Pocono Week comes into play on the long run. The longer the run, the faster their cars go.
Lions starting to stretch the gap. There's the 32 on pit road. Johnny Baldridge, he was the culprit of the 4 tyres. All locked up out of turn 2 a couple laps ago, he pointed out. And he is our first timer of the race. He's officially decided he's had enough for this one.
Yeah, and then remember, we had technical issues. That's why he was laps down. He was some of the drivers fighting here. But at this moment, I think everyone's just still trying to fight those tires with how difficult this track has been. And keep in mind, we talked about it a little bit before at Kentucky. Drivers have realized that the colder the track is, the looser it gets compared to what it was last year. The reason? You're carrying more speed around the track. You carry more speed on corner exits. In turn, causes a lot of bobbles. Can make it very tricky to get around the racetrack. And some drivers have actually gone to where they prefer the hotter temperatures at times. That's not going to be the case. It's going to get colder and colder as contact.
And that brings out the caution, which is a little bit peculiar because he gathered it up and never really slowed down that much.
Yeah, that was coming.
Yeah. Slowest that car ever went was 120 kilometers an hour. So, bit trigger happy up in the caution system.
Yeah, but the reason, you see how big of an angle it is, around 60 degrees. There was a similar caution in the Cup Series. But what a fantastic save to keep it off the wall with that contact.
Yeah, certainly was. That's 3 cautions in 20 laps. Let's go to a quick break here on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll come back for the restart here from New Hampshire. We're back at New Hampshire, and a surprise under the caution. 3 drivers from the top 20 came to pit road, most notably Boyd Hogan decided to come from second place, Justin.
This is a gamble, an absolute gamble where he's going to feel for sure now. But here's the thing. If this plays out and they get a longer run, this gives him the track position. He says he's scared, though, on the radio because this is a massive one. A massive gamble. With how quick he's going to be in the pack by about half a second to a second a lap, Ryan, the risk of getting an incident is fairly high here.
Yeah, it is. But if we get a long green flag run here, he's in a really good spot, isn't he? As long as he keeps it out of trouble.
Him, Rivera, Campbell are all in decent shape, potentially, if this works out.
If
that's the gamble, though.
Continue to get caution up.
If it stays great,
though, he might be in a bit of trouble. So he's got 1 set of tires left. So too Rivera and Campbell. The rest of the cars on pit road were repairing some damage, I do believe. I think there was about 7 or 8 in total.
Indeed,
I think Hogan was hoping a few drivers would come with him when he decided to come from second. Maybe trying to get Harrison Lyon shuffled out, but didn't happen.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Say we get a 15-lap run, we might see more drivers come down. The question is how many of those end up electing to come into pit. So this is now just open up the whole strategy can of worms here coming to 69 laps to go.
First time today, the leader coming to the green will not be Boyd Hogan. Harrison Lyon has that honour this time around. Matt Carper will be up on the front row once again after starting there at the start of this race. Moose and Caden Rush back on row 2. Green flag at the ready. And we are underway once again. It's our 4th restart in Hampshire.
Decent start. Some drivers, though, going 3-4 wide in the middle of the pack. Hogan had to go all the way to the apron to try and cut around some of these cars.
Oh, Wesley Pistol just got split 3 wide for a moment by Scott Crubb. On board with Boyd Hogan. He's 21st at the moment. In front of him is where all the drama is right now. And a bit of contact in front. Up to the wall goes the 21. Hogan slips by. The field seems very on edge on this restart.
I think some of them are nervous about where they may be caught here, but I think we might see a lot of give and take with the difference in tires here. Massive, massive difference, mind you. The difference in pace that time by Hogan, 30.3. Everyone else in the 30.8s to flats in the 31s.
When he had that clean air in front of him, you see how well he was able to roll through the middle of the corner on the low side and just breezed by those guys up top, as hearing someone gave the wall a love tap. Stolas Jr. gave it a bit of a hit. Looks like he's still alright though.
It's a little bit of a scuff. Just part of the fender, not enough to really suffer that race car. Just a tiny, tiny little bit. Don't know if it's going to be too much of a worry. Car around is Guy Seela.
Guy Seela goes around. And that's caused a few cars to end up in the fence. We'll see who the catalyst for it was. Oshie and Walsh has damage. Alex Kolonix was involved as well. Can't see much damage to hit. Oh no, the rear end is missing the rear bumper. Modem simulation replay going to tell us the tail. Here's Guy Seela. Out of turn 4. Carter was inside. On the brakes very early. And a big dive from the car behind sent him around. And that caused the melee of a few more to get involved.
Yeah, he was trying to let him go, actually. That's why he was letting up so early. The problem is, Guy, I don't think realized that there would be a car diving in from 3 car lanes back. It was far back, yes. But he cut 3 lanes nearly, Ryan, to dive in the corner and try and get to the preferred line. Everybody else, not sure what the situation was to try and get in the brakes.
I don't think that's Sidler's fault. I'll play devil's advocate there. I think that's probably the diving car at fault for that one. Either way, it does bring out another caution. And a few more come to pit road for some repairs. It was Justin Levine, the diving man, in the number 19. And you see the damage as a result to the dead center front of that car. That might knock the engine a bit.
On the bright side, Owens gets himself back on the lead lap. He can finally fix some of that damage for a few laps here.
And his car doesn't look that bad, does it? So, he might be able to play a factor further up the order by the time we get down to the end of this race.
And spoke earlier in the week, I should rather say, with Keegan Leahy. Remember, who got significant nose damage in the first caution flag of the race at New Hampshire in the Cup Series. He was actually happy with the finish because of how the race played out and recovered to 22nd. If Mullins can get all the damage fixed that he can and avoid all the incidents, he has the chance to be in the same spot where he can be happy to stay out of trouble, to try and get a decent finish and preserve important I rating and important points for the championship.
Yeah, official racing, NASCAR iRacing series, of course, under the official banner of races on the iRacing service, means you do have that I rating, that safety rating, at risk every time you take the green flag, and then until you hit the checkers. And it's often why you'll see drivers who run into issues early, not just retire from the race, they will hang in there and try to limp home as high up as they can because they're trying to preserve those I ratings. And when you get up to the range, some of these guys are in, close to 6K, even higher. Losing I rating is so much easier than the gaining, so you don't want to lose much. You don't want to lose I rating when there's an opportunity to at least stay even.
Yeah, and that's why there's so much, how do I phrase this proper? Tentativeness for some drivers to risk a lot of racing, a lot of times, Ryan, in part because of that risk. You'll see some of the top drivers come out if they feel like they're comfortable and in a safe situation for Road to Pro. And that's the main key for Road to Pro for a lot of these competitors. Say a Moose, a Norden, drivers like that. But the drivers who aren't safe to get into, say, top split or second split, Ryan, they'll be more tentative to try and race with these tougher tracks like this unless they feel confident they can come away with at least a positive gain. It can be very interesting.
If you don't make that top split or that second split, it's a massive disadvantage in terms of trying to gather up the points in that particular race in order to propel yourself up the order in the overall standings. So it's completely understandable, but good to see guys like Moose, Norton running every week, and they are very consistent front runners as well. Caden Rush is going to be restarting on the first row of the grid for the first time today. Now, he's got a pretty decent I rating, but we haven't seen him very often this season.
No, we quite haven't this season, but I think part of it, again, has just been the focus on Road to Pro. He's one of those drivers in that second split grouping we talked about a little bit. He's good, though, with the short tracks. This is one of his specialties. One of the drivers, though, who is trying to raise up from one of the mid-tier teams. Very strong performance, though, tonight from Caden Rush. He's been a top 10 car all night.
And let's see if he can make it a race-leading car. Got to get by Harrison Lyons to make that happen. Flag at the ready. Let's go back green, 5th time today. Green flag from New Hampshire, back in the air.
Not a good jump, though, for Rush to the point where some of the low-line cars trying to bump him forward.
He had Spencer Burns on his back bumper trying to hurry him along. That bad start for Rush affects about 4 or 5 cars on the high line immediately behind him. Now he gets down low and Burns is stuck up top with a few technical issues as well, with Junior down on his inside. Boyd Hogan, meanwhile, has climbed back inside the top 10. And here he is. And, oh, someone gets turned. Almost. They hang on to it. That was Will Norton. And, oh, now they're 4 wide. That was very ugly. Boyd Hogan was bottom of 4 for a moment there, as Norton gathered up his car.
How in the world didn't they bottle it up there? I'm not sure. Nearly 2 different drivers got turned in that sequence. That could have been disastrous.
Well, they bottled it up for sure, but they avoided wadding it up, is what they did, and it means we stay green. Great car control and awareness from everyone involved in that little sequence. As further behind, it all is still very dicey at the moment. Scott Crump down on the low side of Abrams, and all stacked up behind them, 3 wide again. A little bit further deeper in the field. As we get closer and closer to the finish, drivers becoming more and more aggressive, as we often see.
Now remember, some of the differences in tires here can come into play if we get the long run. It's a very small difference for some of the drivers, but it was a sacrifice that guys like Matt Orcampa did, like Ty Ippolito did, like J.D. Willis did, to now open up that revolving door tire strategies.
Look at this. Absolute mess. And that's a tight 3 wide coming out of the corner. With the run on the bottom side was J.D. Willis picking up 2 spots. About as stacked up as we've seen them at all day. A lot of cars involved in this one right now. And it's all right behind. Did I just hear someone's engine blow? I've heard a pop, but I'm not sure where it came from.
Not quite seeing anybody quite slow yet. But there is the risk, mind you, with how close the racing is and how some of the drivers have been running, of overheating. So keep that in mind with some of the drivers with damages. We're 3 wide again.
Ippolito down low. He's got Reese Barham in the middle. He clears him. And Tanner Love was car up top. Corey Wolf wants a way through. Sorry, it was Reese Barham up top. Tanner Love down low. Ippolito had Hernandez in the middle. Hernandez was the one clearing them both. As Hogan, it's up top 5, up into 4th place now. Looking to make it 3rd. Caden Rush going to fall victim to the fresh tyres that Hogan's got. And it's working well for him.
Yeah, and both of those drivers have no choice but to give them the space there with the fresher tires. Here's the crazy part. Harrison Lyon has been matching the times Boyd Hogan's been doing with the traffic. Now it's the question. Will Hogan be able to reel him in now that he's got clean space and some clean air to close up a 1.7 second gap?
Yeah, even though he was carving through them, he was definitely being held up. So clean air now going to give us a good picture of just how quick those fresh tyres are. Even though they've had their edge probably worn out of them by now, trying to get through all those guys. I do expect them to run down Lyon, at least for a little bit of anyway. Gap down for 5 seconds. 2 seconds, actually.
Might not throw all the numbers in there, but it looks like based on the rotation, that Boyd at least can gain a 10th to half a tenth each corner apex with how much more grip he's got and how much more speed he can carry into the corner. So I think in about 5 laps, we may see the fight for the race lead heat up.
His for Carper. He's found himself outside the top 10 now. He's on the front row for one of the restarts not long ago, but he's picked up a spot, maybe looking to come back forward. He pitted under the last caution, in fact, so He's got some fresh tires as well.
He's got some nose damage, though, I think, from some of the checkups there you see. I don't know if it's going to be too much of a factor, but it may slow him down and cause overheating problems here in the traffic.
On board with Wesley Pistol. He's the next victim to Paul Carper. And that's too easy. Down into 3. That low line car working the low line very well. Gap is now down to 8 tenths of a second, so Hogan's supreme. Much faster than Harrison Lyon right now. As Robert Miller goes for a slide through turn 2, that's going to cost him about half a dozen spots.
Not seeming like he's happy with Tommy Gossett on the radio, because Gossett was trying to dive to the inside and won, and actually clipped his quarter panel. He's been close to some of the Nexus drivers on corner entry, keep in mind.
Solis Jr. just let Paul Carper go by him. 5 tenths. Up front. Looking back from Harrison Lyon's car, you'll see Hogan close in massively through 1 and 2 here as they roll through the center. Watch Hogan lurch ever closer. And off the exit as well, when he's able to apply that throttle right there.
Yeah, that extra grip is just helping him gain more and more time. And mind you, they've ran away by 2.5 seconds from everybody else. These are the 2 quickest cars on the racetrack by far right now at this point of the race, even with the difference in tires.
Well, for Lyon, he's still part of the majority on the older tires, so not surprising to see him up there at the front. Obviously, those guys with fresh rubber going to be lapping slightly faster with him once they fire the clean air. Solis Jr.'s fallen to 10th place now. Wesley Pistol gets by him. So he's struggling a little bit for some pace on this run. 46 laps to go.
There's the pass for the lead right there easily with the extra grip. Now becomes the question here. Does this race stay green? Because if it does, this is Hogan's race to lose. If we get a caution flag, though, oh boy, it gets crazy.
I think if we get a caution with now 45 to go, Hogan sort of has to come to pit lane, and we'll see everyone else come as well. That means that he's only got 0 tires left once he makes that stop. The rest of the field have 1 tire set left, so a 20-lap run, he'd be under a lot of pressure. So this strategy is golden unless we get a caution with quite a few laps still to run. Anywhere from now, really, until about 15 or 20 to go. For Carper on the charge as well. He's going to want to join Hogan up at the front. Harrison Lyon on the fresh tyre strategy. Working pretty well for him. As a mistake out of 4 deeper in the field. Hernandez, the latest car to join the list of drivers tumbling after a slide. He catches it. And a big tank slapper going on down that straight.
I think some of the effects of some of the tire wear starting to come in, and a few drivers may at this rate may eventually have to come down here, mind you, with how tight it could be on the fuel. It may be close for everybody else here.
You see the hit that Ippolito gave back a Tanner Love there through the middle of 3 and 4. Actually worked out pretty well for Tanner Love. It gave him an extra boost to speed, and he's now able to round up Campbell around the outside. Or he did for a moment at least.
I think Love's got the better speed right now in the apex compared to Campbell at this point. You see it right there. Problem is, again, it's that ability to get clear is so difficult when you're side by side here at New Hampshire. It takes several laps to clear someone for a pass.
Well, on the outside, he's able to carry more speed because the car is pointed a little bit straighter, if you will. On the inside, they've got to turn the car more, so the car has to slow down a bit more. It is the inside line, of course, but the track is so flat through the corners that it doesn't really work out for you. And then off the exit, it seems that, weirdly, the inside is able to get down the power a little bit easier, which is often, which is reversed from what you often see on the exits.
But look here at one driver, despite all that damage, Justin Levine's actually been able to find some pace here despite significant nose damage.
And he fired off well from the outside on the exit.
So he said there's a possibility of engine damage. I don't think that's the case, says he nearly spun it off the nose of Campbell.
And Campbell had to check up to avoid him. And this is starting to really stack up. About 5 or 6 cars. Ippolito, Love, and there's a bit of a Constantino effect through 2. And Nandez in there as well. For Carper, meanwhile, has climbed into 3rd. 2.4 away from Lyon up in 2nd, as again, Levine slow off the corner. That allows Ippolito down to his inside. Hernandez is going to try to follow him through. Looks like the acceleration for Levine is actually what might be hurt right now in terms of that damage.
Yeah, that's the major key is if you have the nose damage, you have to take off tape. You also are losing that aerodynamic drag down the straightaways and the ability to suck up to our drivers. That's what I think is absolutely killing him the most. He's got the corner speed still with the suspension. It's just that nose just is not allowing to carry the speed now because of what happened nearly off the corner. He's lost the drive off as well. We talked about it a little bit before.
On board with David Hall. He's got nowhere to go right now.
Yeah, he needs to find a hole to the bottom quick. The problem is I don't know if he's going to get it. Especially with Carlisle starting to close back up to this group as well. Corey Wolf looking to dive in. Don't forget about drivers like Guy Sela trying to recover from incidents.
Rear end steps out of Levine, and he's going to continue to tumble. That's going to let one down to get by him. Ryan Carlisle. It allows Corey Wolf to get to his inside as well. As we watch Hernandez on Miller just up in front of them.
One thing to keep in mind, though, this driver right here, he's now picked up the pace. Line started to fall off 0.3 a lap to compare to what Boyd's been doing, but the problem is, this low-line car is a 10th quicker than that. So the longer this run goes, the more intriguing this can get. It might become a battle for the race win at this rate in the final 15 laps.
Paul Carper was quicker than Hogan as well on the last lap. On this lap,
yeah,
he also ran quicker, so obviously he pitted a caution or two after Hogan, so he's got fresher tyres even than him.
Oh,
now
trouble, front stretch. Scott Krupp nearly wrecked.
Now he's got clean air again. He might be able to run him down. We'll keep an eye on that as there's Crump, front left now with a lot more damage than it did have.
He snapped it hard off a turn 4 from the 3rd line. He was so loose, he nearly hit the corner panel of Campbell and smacked the inside wall. That could have been a big one.
Modem simulation replay.
Now watch for it on the exit of 3 and 4. Campbell was within 6 inches of getting turned into the right, to the outside wall. I believe it's the next time by actually here. And you can already tell he was losing tons of positions and stuck on that high side for several laps.
Meanwhile, for Kappa, 2/10 quicker than Hogan. Gap is down to 2.4. Here we go. Through 3 and 4. That's Campbell down low. Already starting to slide. Wow. Just split the gap between the car low and car behind.
Like I said, Campbell is absolutely lucky he's still running in this race with how close it got. But speaking of things closing up, Hogan in for Kappa. About to close up within 2 seconds in a few moments.
Caden Rush and Spencer Burns as well for 4th. Burns all over his back bumper.
This will have to be another low line try. Have an air solid run. Keep in mind, that driver behind the wheel, Spencer E. Burns, he is currently projected to be the last eligible driver mathematically to have a shot at making into the pro qualifiers for the winter time in the Xfinity Series cars. He is, though, at P57 in the point standings in Road to Pro entering tonight.
Keep an eye on him then in the weeks and months to come.
P53
High line.
round.
That high line didn't work out for Spencer Burns there, did it?
No, I think he tried to change something up, get the run to the quarter panel at least. Take away that preferred line from what we're seeing Rush do, but the problem is I don't know he's going to be able to stick it as well. Jose Salas Jr., his descent continues, it seems. One of those Nexus drivers we've talked about. Some other drivers have struggled this evening, while others like Norden and Moose have been able to wheel their cars to top 10s right now.
Yeah. Interesting. His pace drop-off has just been fairly consistently slower and slower on this stint, really, and no notable damage to the car. It's just not working for him. He'll be desperately hoping for a caution. And 27 to go. We want it to come sooner rather than later, so he can potentially work his way back forward a few spots at least.
Almost wondering, though, in battles such as this you see on your screen, if dirty air is a major factor, because it's been a talking point all season. Dirty air is a major factor, too, in the short tracks, remember. Even at tracks like Bristol, it can make you tight behind somebody and make it very difficult to try and make a pass. That's where we see these different lines try and come into play. Get some clean air, try and make sure you don't peel off that splitter with that dirty air that makes it clip down. The problem is, if you're near dead even on pace, it can be near impossible to get side by side in the long run.
For those unaware, Justin, that dirty air effect, what does it actually mean?
Well, dirty air essentially means you're getting air from the car in front of you that ends up making you aerotight, quote unquote. Surprisingly, it used to be the opposite, where the draft from the car in front would actually make you loose. That was properly corrected during 2019 in the later stages of the year with some of the builds back then. It will in turn, though, make it much more difficult to rotate, difficult to try and get a run off the corner, more difficult to try and make a pass. That's why it takes several laps to try and make a move, and why you've seen bump and runs like that. As a pit stop being made by Tommy Gossett, he can't make it on fuel.
He can't, and he will go up down as a result as Hogan goes by on the main straight. The gap is coming down, but it's coming down slowly, as that was almost contact there between Burns and Rush. And Wesley Pistol is just behind as well. He might make it a three-way fight in a moment or two. Harrison Lyon comes to pit road.
They can't make it. They can't make it. Might be a couple laps out the range. This is absolutely huge. Now, not only are they going to have to sacrifice the lap here, but they're also going to essentially not be able to potentially get the track position back unless they get some luck here.
Yeah. If a caution comes out, the lead cars can stay on the racetrack and trap him a lap down if they wanted to. So keep an eye on that. We get one, but we stay green. Well, even if we stay green, there's no way Harrison Lyon unlaps himself and then drives to the back of Hogan. The gap is just too big. Right now, talking of gaps, it's under a second now between Hogan and Four-Carper for the first time this run. Been lapping consistently about 1 to 2 tenths quicker than him, occasionally running 3 tenths quicker.
And some of the fans, I think... Oh, someone having trouble. Ty Ippolito with problems.
Caution. Caution's out. And this is going to really shake things up. So, Ippolito brings it out. And we'd seen 2 cars on the road. Tommy Gossett and Harrison Lyon. Here's a replay of Ippolito then.
And this was a massive one because Ippolito wasn't the trigger. Hall ended up smacking into the wall. Several others also spun because Ippolito tried to move to the inside and just completely missed his braking mark and locked it up.
Now, what does this mean? If Hogan stays out, he can trap those guys a lap down. But the field that is still very big behind him on the lead lap can pit, and they will absolutely blaze him away on the fresh tyres. He has no choice but to pit. Lyon and Gossett, they have to stay out. They can't take tyres under this pit stop, but the good news for them is they've only done about 2 or 3 laps. And in fact, Lyon actually gets the lucky dog. Also, Justin, this is the final set of tyres for Boyd Hogan and Matt Four-Carper.
But here's the thing, because of the time of the caution and most of the field stayed out waiting for this to happen, drivers like Norton have an extra set of tires. Rush, Pistol, Moose, all have extra sets of tires here. So they have a shot. If it comes down to it, the problem's going to be, will they use it because the importance of track position?
The easiest way to explain it is this. The only cars with no tires left are Hogan, Four-Carper, and Rivera. In terms of, leading picture, lead lap guys. Everyone else has 1 set of tires remaining. Question mark over Harrison Lyon. I don't expect him to pit again, so he will have 1 set of tires left. And he's back in the lead lap as well. But he'll have to start from the rear end of the field, and will have about 1 or 2 laps on his tires compared to those that have been already pitted. He does come again, so Lyon will have no tires left.
Well, he had to. He was the lucky dog, remember? So, yeah. This will put him around P28. This is going to put him P28.
He didn't have to pit, did he, Justin? He was a lucky dog. Yes, gets himself back in the lead lap.
But he was also on 10-lap-old tires. That's the thing you're forgetting here.
Had it been 10 laps already?
About?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, yeah, he did have to pit. I had thought it had only been a couple laps. He rejoined the pit. No, he rejoined the racetrack in lap 129. Caution came out at 131.
Either way, he still loses the track position, as the answer is, by the way, for that 5 seconds, so he just made the adjustment. Either way, it's essentially very difficult for Harrison Lyon to try and come back and win this race. He charged up to the field before, but it took him 30, 40 laps, Ryan. Yeah. I don't know if he can get it done in 17 or less.
He won't unless something drastic happens. He's pretty much even on tyres now. And in fact, yeah, he didn't even take any tyres on pit road. It's an adjustment of some sort. For him, as you mentioned, he's coming back in again. So, Lyon potentially just playing with setups, maybe trying to learn some things. Now he does take
he's
tyres.
taken... Wow.
2 right sides. Does he take the lefts? Yes, he will. He's still stationary, so 4 tyres. No tyres left for Lyon. 100% definite this time.
So either way, he does take the tires.
Yes.
Let's put it that way.
4 cars with no tyres left, with 17 to go. Four-Carper, Hogan, Rivera, and Lyon. Now, if we get a caution, say, 5 to go, somewhere in that range, there's a real possibility that they get caught restarting top 4 positions because everyone else comes to grab fresh tyres, and then they're in a world of trouble. So this could still be a talking point, even though there's only 17 to go. It all depends on when and if we get a caution and where it falls. As we get the 1 to go signal, we're going to light up to go back racing here at New Hampshire.
It all comes down, I think, now to Hogan versus Forkapa, I think, at this point. The question's going to be, can Hogan defend, and will the low-line racing machine have enough laps to fight? If anything happens between them, mind you, with contact, don't forget about Spencer E. Burns, who would be probably having a party at his house if he wins this race.
This is, as typical, we always seem to get it. A short run to the end. There's only been a few long runs to finish the race in NIS, and it means this is going to be really, really dicey. Coming back to the green with 15 to go when we cross the line. It's Hogan in control again. He jumps on that throttle and it's lucky to the left. Very well. And we'll fire down into one.
Great launch, but the teammates are actually scrapping. This is going to hold them up a touch.
Spencer Burns going to take away second from Forkapa.
Oh, he's trying to shovel his own teammate off the third line.
Will Norton right up on their bumper. Nowhere to go. Caden Rush as well. Going to try to look on the inside of Norton. Now, Forkapa's able to clear Burns.
And this is exactly what Boyd wants to see. Teammates fighting like this. Lost them half a second in the span of 2 laps.
Hey, up the racetrack goes someone. A few cars back. At the back, oh, they're 5 wide coming out of turn 4. What on earth? We stay green somehow. 5 wide at New Hampshire. I never thought I'd see that today.
Oh, here comes Will Norton with that speed we seen early on from him. That got him up as high as second on the short run.
Burns looks like he might not quite have the outright pace because Norton's going to go by him as well. Now, Forkapa was quicker with the fresher tyres, but now that they're on even tyres, guess we're going to find out who's got the quicker car overall. 1.1 seconds between them right now. Car coming out of pit road. That's Scott Crump. Can we please not see a repeat of last week? As he's going to keep that car down low. Good job.
Not a repeat, thankfully, of what happened at Kentucky. Let's put it that way. But Boyd is flying. This is exactly the run I think Boyd needed to try and win this type of race. The car's been blistering quick on the short runs this week. Pulled another 1/10 of a second last time.
Finally, Norton is able to clear Burns. That took him a good couple laps to get that one done. Would have burnt up the tyres a little bit as well. But yeah, Hogan lapping quicker than Forkapa right now. He's comfortable out front. As Burns, very uncomfortable, tank slapper out of 4.
Apparently, there was some contact between Crump and Pistol, though. Crump from 42nd hit the 7th place car in 1 and 2. And down the straight.
JD Willis cautions out. It's not for Willis. He was having a slide, but someone's had a bigger slide somewhere in the field.
Justin Levine. Levine actually got into the back, and Rivera as he tangled down the racetrack, and both of them went off to the grass. Take a look at this.
They were wadding up right here. Harrison Lyons in this picture too. Back a shot there. See, number 6. Into the corner. 3 wide for a moment. They end up 2 wide out of the corner. And just came down right into Levine. Did Nelson Rivera. And Lyon was actually lucky to get through that. Now, Justin, there's 9 to go. If you're one of those guys who have tyres left, you can pit.
If I'm at the back of the field, I'm putting in the tires. If I'm at the front in the top half of the field, no, I'm staying out. So I think the cutoff is 15th. If you're below 15th, I think you risk it. If you're above it, you have to stay out. I think the first of those drivers, in fact, was Robert Miller, who was around that bubble spot we were just talking about. Everyone else was in the 20s, Ryan.
Yeah. So the guys at the back will pit. Now, it's interesting because they have tyres available. I mean...
There's not enough laps for there's not enough laps though for it to work. If you take them.
Only way it works is if everyone comes, which is a gamble that you don't really want to take because there's always going to be someone that goes the opposite.
Yeah, so I don't blame them at all for staying out whatsoever. I would stay out in this situation at this point. And we're hearing apparently one driver having a throttle sticking issue, allegedly. The 16 trying to get it sorted out in second.
That's for Carper. That's an issue then. Hogan's been fast. Aside from Lion, probably the fastest car on the racetrack today. Strategy-wise, he's put himself in a very good spot with that early caution pit stop. Was getting run down by 4 Carper. Probably got saved by the late caution that we've got. That's triggered another one here, but he pulled out a margin again. He's got to do it all over now.
If he gets a couple restarts, he's got a shot. And I think part of the reason we've seen that call, Ryan, make the adjustment the first stop, make sure he doesn't get a lap down. Take the tires in the second stop. It's only a couple laps. But if he did enough adjustments and did something wild to have it be a rocket ship for 10 laps, that might have been the reason he would have taken that last set. Adjust the tire pressures, put a massive swing on the wedge, go from there.
I'm asking this question not for the viewers, but for me. What does the wedge actually do?
It's more so spring perch adjustment is the term used in iRacing, a lot for that adjustment in the official term used for the setup. Again, we've talked about it where it adjusts the skew in the back end depending on how you adjust it. Also adjust how the handling is for the chassis specifically. So say you want to try and make it looser on the exits. You look at a chart, let's say. If you don't have it memorized, you can change it where one end you push it up, one end you push it down, bounces out where it's tighter on entry, looser on exit. Some, you go same direction on both ends of the springs, adjust the skew, adjust the amount of downforce and speed you have down the straightaways. There's several adjustments that are very key for some of the drivers as the race goes on. Some will try to avoid it and only do tire pressure adjustments. Some will use tire pressure adjustments to complement the chassis adjustments for a run.
So lots to think about when you're out there as a driver. Oftentimes, that's why you've got, even in sim racing, your high-end drivers and teams will run with a crew chief, maybe even a spotter as well. The other way around, I should say. And they'll help make those adjustments for them so that the driver can think about just racing and getting the best out of themselves and the car with what they've got to work with at that very moment. When we restart, will be 4 laps to go here in New Hampshire. The iRacing.com Ford Mustang going to unleash Boyd Hogan. He's been on the start for so many of these restarts. He's got it down pat. He can't get complacent, and he doesn't. He goes as early as he's gone all night, and we are back underway.
Great launch by Burns up on the top line. And now this is where, is there enough time for Matt Forcappa to try and make a move? He got clear. Everyone else, though, can they stay clean enough to go 4 laps?
Neil Norton's down on the inside of Burns. Scrapping 4P3. Caden Rush behind him. 3 wide as Harrison Lyons making progress. right down in the low side.
Yeah, that car's been absolutely unbelievable.
Caution.
And now he gets a caution and he says a car gets loose in front of him.
And gonna whack the fence as well. Guy Sealer brings out the late caution. And the 22 of Wesley Pistol, right as the caution came out, was having his own incident. And he'll get his spot back because of when the caution flew. Here's a replay of his little trouble. Or rather, yeah, we'll look at him first. Nope, we'll look at Sealer. We'll look at Sealer first, Justin.
Yeah, and this 3 wide's never good, and you can see just push up from the bottom. Alex Kolonix just ends up hooking him. Sealer nearly saved it, but hit Miga, hit a couple other drivers. Then Pistol got loose as the caution came on and smacked the wall himself.
And that might do some damage to that car as well, to state the obvious. It might hurt his performance, and going to be a green-white-checkered now. So, we've got 3 attempts at this. Race going to be extended. We're going to overtime here on iRacing. Green-white-checkered, this is how it works. You get 2 laps. You get the green flag come out. You race back to the white flag. If you get to the white before the caution, you're coming back to the checkers. But if a caution comes...
Ryan?
My internet died, and I saw it happen right as it died. What was I saying? I think I got up to, if a caution comes out before you get back to the white flag, the field will be set under caution again, and we'll try it again. 3 attempts to do so. No caution can come out on the white flag lap, though, as usual, here in iRacing.
I think... And here's the thing I'm curious about. If there's an air caution flag and we get a second green-white checker, this race might be down to not just Hogan and Furcapa, but Lyon. Lyon, I think, needs 1 more caution to have a shot at this race. Hogan, he's been perfect on the restarts. He's talked about how being the control car has been the key in a lot of these races at New Hampshire this week. This could get very wild. Again, when this green-white checkered starts. I don't know if we're going to make it a lap, honestly, with what we've seen with the craziness on these starts.
Well, we've made it a lap on a few occasions, and they've wrecked after it, so... definitely a good chance we could get there, but again, knowing it's a green-white checkered, tension, aggressiveness, they're all ramped up a bunch. Hogan, as I said in the last restart, has been here so many times, but the key for him is he's not being predictable. He's not gone at the same point every time. And that means Furcapa doesn't know when he's going to go. He can't gauge it. He can't predict it. He'd have to get extremely lucky to go right with him on this restart. There's no restart zone in iRacing. So that's why it's so hard. And so often you see the leader jump away.
There's no restart zone per se. However, there is essentially a box, so to speak, where from the pace car is in point, when you get that trigger on the spotter, to where the flagman will throw it is variant and different at a lot of tracks. Pocono has about a 10-foot distance. Others have about half the straightaway. This is one of those that's in the middle where it's about just around 10-20 feet past the red line where the normal restart zone would be in real life.
Yeah.
That's usually the trigger point for the green flag, and that's that flexibility. I think at this point, though, I wouldn't be surprised if Boyd gunned it the second the pace car dropped.
Well, like he did last restart. I can't wait for the update to Phoenix, when, as you say, that restart box will become the length of an entire straight and the corner. Because, of course, pit road there is not being changed, but the start-finish line has been moved in real life to after what is currently turns 1 and 2. So it's a massive run without the pace car in front of you. There, of course, hasn't been updated quite yet in iRacing, and we're at New Hampshire today, where the restart zone is reasonably long, but not as big as some of the racetracks. It's from about here that he could go to about there, where the green flag will come out.
And when we talk about where he can jump or go in the start, some drivers like to go in between with a 3 count, as they like to call it. count 1, 2, 3, and you can physically tell as the driver, in fact, in a lot of cases, even if you don't have the count, that's likely going to be happening. That's where a lot of drivers then try and go on pace car. Try and go early, get the car length and half advantage, force the others to try and reel them back in a couple laps. The third option is stack the box. Try and go when the green flag goes. It, however, has the risk of causing calamity behind because our drivers try and jump it about 10 to 20 rows back. How it's played here by Boyd can determine how this race in this green-white-checkered is about to go.
Green-white-checkered, attempt number 1 from New Hampshire in the NASCAR iRacing Series. This is about to be wild. Hogan waits and waits and waits, and he goes. Green flag is back out. Great jump from Boyd Hogan.
Exactly what we expected here. Not as big of a jump he could have got there, Ryan.
No, it wasn't. But it might be enough. It's enough through 1 and 2. Onto the back straight we run. No incident yet. Looking to come back to the white flag. Can we get there to finish off this race with just the 1 attempt? The green-white-checkered. Out of turn number 4. Hogan coming back to that stripe. The white flag is out. One more time around.
I think he's just about got it here, Ryan. Unless Forcapa can somehow send it or Boyd makes a mistake, this is his race to lose.
7 car links in hand, down the back straight, stretching as they run into 3. Side by side for 3rd, behind them, Will Norton and Spencer Burns. But out front, Boyd Hogan. What a race for him. Great strategy call. He gets a victory from New Hampshire.
And he's probably going to be celebrating like crazy right now in the team's Discord. This is a win he wanted so bad entering tonight. He put in tons of effort for this race. What a race. What a win for Boyd Hogan.
Fantastic effort from him. Wasn't the fastest today. That would probably have to be Harrison Lyon, but he made the wrong call on the strategy and he finishes only 6th. Good recovery though after getting a lucky dog with a couple restarts to go. And Boyd Hogan, well, at the time he said in driver's chat it was a bit of a gamble maybe. He was worried about the restart, but carved through that field absolutely beautifully. And he is able to celebrate in style down to the main straight, across the stripe in New Hampshire, winning by half a second over Matt Forcapa and Will Norton. Let's take a look at our full race results. Top 3, and then Spencer Burns coming home in 4th ahead of Caden Rush in 5th, Harrison Lyon 6th, Patrick Moose and Jose Solis Jr. 7th and 8th, Wesley Pistol 14th to 9th, and Jonathan Hernandez 12th to 10th.
11th spot goes to JD Willis. Michael Abrams, we've talked about his comeback attempt for next year's Road to Pro campaign. He's up to 12, continues his progress to gain IR. Joshua Campbell finished 13th, with Johan Chayurt keeping his car clean from 30th to 14th. Reese Baham, we've seen him charge up at times on the low-line machines. A rough one, though, from 15th to 15th. Tanner Love finished 16th. Mullins in 17th with a crushed in front nose. He's got a performance he's probably going to be happy about after some of the roughness tonight. Levine finishes in 18th. Zach Hudson in 19th. And David Hall, with more bad luck in NIS this week, another top 20.
Gabriel Mauricio, 21st at a tie Polito and Corey Wolf and Nelson Rivera. He had a bad race, 6th to 24th. Chris Wilhite, Scott Crump, Ryan Carwile, Jake Hickson, Robert Miller, and Tommy Gossett. Your top 30. Rest of the field was Pedro Mega, last car on the lead lap. Then Alex Kolonix and Guy Sealer. And 3 retirements only in the end. Ossian Walsh, Larry Reed, and Johnny Baldridge. So attrition rate, not as high as you might have expected, but there was still quite a few cautions. But let's have a chat to our race winner, Boyd Hogan. You got it.
Oh, yes, sir. About time, eh?
Yeah, about time. You've been trying all season. You finally got there, and it was a strategy call, a bold one to pit, but helped you get there.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. I realized with about 50 to go that if a yellow came out right there, I was probably screwed. And we got lucky about it. Definitely got lucky when they all dropped, to be honest with you. But Yeah, we finally got one.
Yeah, you talk about that luck. I've said it before. You always need a bit of luck to win a race, no matter how good you are. You certainly got that today. Obviously, the caution, you pitted, you came back through the field. Cautions all came at the right time, even when Farcapa was running you down. At that point, with Farcapa running you down, he also pitted early, but not quite as early as you. You had to be a little bit worried.
Yeah, for sure. They, to my understanding, Matt's been shifting, later on in the run, and I tried it a couple times in a couple of races earlier on in the week, and I can't do it and be as fast as what he can. So I, myself and Kale Gale went to work on the car the last day or two, just trying to pick up another couple tenths without shifting, and we did it. So shout out to Kale for that. Shout out to Caden Lapsevich, John Platt. Caden's losing his mind right now, so it's good to have those guys up on the box. Yeah, we should probably have about 5 of them that have been broadcasted, but we got the one that mattered.
Yeah, you finally got that Friday night victory. Gotta feel good for you and for your team as well. Hey, you had to restart from first plenty of times. Talk about trying to change that up so that you didn't get predictable and it could be judged.
Yeah, it's restarts here already, hard enough on the on this package just because you got the higher horsepower, so wheel spin's always kind of a concern. So you just you have enough space for when the pace car drops off to the time the green flag actually comes out, to where you can you got a good bit of grace period to where you can just go and mix it up, and there's a lot of space for doing it. So it's pretty easy. The biggest thing here is honestly being the control car. I was telling Prince earlier, like, I'd almost rather have 30 lap older tires than everybody else in the field and be the control car than to not be in that position.
Hey, well, you were with a control car when it mattered, right at the end. Who you want to thank? Who are the sponsors and the people that get it done for you?
Oh man, I gotta thank Bobby Earnhardt, everybody at Legacy Esports, Abruzzi. We got some big news coming up with those guys. Judd Danielson, he is the man. Rogue Energy, GTR Simulator, Oculus Gaming, Butt Kicker. Everybody that makes this happen. Um, you know, everybody on Slip Angle, everybody on Legacy. Caden, obviously, Kale. There's so many people that make these cars go fast, and this is just hopefully we can start reeling them off for you guys. Thank you guys obviously for putting on a show. Hope it was a good one to watch.
A lot of fun. Congratulations once again. Go and celebrate that one with the team.
Yes, sir. Oh, I also want to thank Alan Provenzano. He's the man behind the art on the cars, and I promised him I'd get him a shout out. So big shout out to Alan and Ryden Lapsevich, everybody on Legacy.
Cheers, Boyd. We'll chat you next week, hopefully. Or
Yes,
see
sir.
what's coming.
Yes, sir. That's the plan.
Boyd Hogan, happy man, gets that victory finally on a Friday night. And now Justin, you got Matt Farcapa.
Yes, indeed, Matt. You had a fast car in the long run tonight, come away with the second place finish. How are you feeling coming away with another top 3 run this season?
Oh, it felt great for sure. We definitely worked hard on this car all throughout the week. We were really hoping that that would have played out and went green there at the end. We were starting to chase down Boyd. Obviously we had the longer run car there, but sometimes in NIS you get those cautions packed on top of each other at the end, and I just caught another unlucky break.
Your team has been looking very strong, have to say, in the past few weeks. Your program, whether it's been at Pocono, the Brickyard, Kentucky, the constant's been the same. Your team has been one of the strongest on the entire service on the long run. What has your team found to be able to get that rhythm back as an organization to propel yourselves back into one of the top organizations in all of NASCAR iRacing Series competition?
Yeah, it's just simple. We put the time in, and we found the speed. We know iRacing is always developing. Trying to make it as realistic as possible to the real model. With the low downforce package, the new tire model, and all that stuff. So we're constantly chasing it, trying to learn different things in the car, and we're hoping that we found something that sticks for quite a while. Like I said, we're right there at the cusp. We're just so close. We keep having these bad lucks. Right here at the end of these races. We were that second to last long green flag run that we had. We were chasing down Boyd, but actually had some nose damage. The car was starting to overheat, which, threw my rhythm off a little bit. But, like I said, we were just really hoping that one of those would have, finished out under green. But, you got to deal the hand of cards that you were dealt, and, can't complain too much with the second place finish.
Few week break. In real life, this was supposed to be the break for the Olympics. Now it's the break for a couple weeks to get a bit of a cooler before going back to Michigan. What's your team's focus going to be the next couple weeks before heading back to NIS competition?
Yeah, we're definitely going to use this 2-week break and try to continue to further progress on some of these tracks that we're going to be coming up on here in the coming weeks. I know the first time at Michigan around we struggled a little bit. I think that was right after a build week, so we were just kind of a little bit behind on catching up to some of the things that the sim was doing throughout the week. But hopefully this time by, we collected our notes, and we hopefully can put something together there for Michigan. I'm pretty confident that we'll be able to. But the 2-week break will be nice. Like I said, it's been a grind. I don't know, what is this, week 22, 23, something like that?
21.
So 21. Yeah. So it's been a long season so far. So, we're definitely going to cherish that 2-week break, kind of reset a little bit, but we still got to, hit the ground running, stay focused, because, we got a couple weeks left to finish out the season.
Who do you want to thank for being a part of your second place run tonight?
Yeah, just everybody at Lowline Racing. Everybody contributes there. Everybody's always helping out, putting these sets together. I know David Moran, he was, one of the admins, that kind of put this thing together. So, just those guys, everybody's, working tirelessly, whether it's here and Road to Pro, and, we're trying to make some big strides. So, hopefully, this is, something that'll be a little bit more common for us and our whole team, for the foreseeable future.
Congratulations on the run tonight.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for putting on the broadcast, by the way, too. This stuff's awesome.
That's Matt Prokopov finishing in second tonight. Over to you, Ryan.
Let's round off our interviews with a man who's been waiting very patiently down there in the interview channel. Will Norton, welcome to the booth. Third place today, started second. Thoughts on that race?
Very up and down for me. Short run, we've been holding on pretty good, but I'll be honest, I haven't driven this car as much as I would like to. And that kind of showed in the long run. I was extremely loose off the corners, overdriving entry. Overall, just a struggle for me. But I kind of figured out more in the second run. We were holding on pretty good, probably I think it was around 6th or 7th. And the final run, I just used what I could on the short run to get as much track position as I could, and it worked out pretty well, I think.
Yeah, it sounded a bit disappointed with that. Obviously, qualifying, outside front row, you're going to be pretty happy about your chances potentially heading into the race. But I guess the way today panned out, there were a few gambles taken by other drivers in terms of their strategy, which worked out pretty well for them. They finished first and second. For you, probably the first drivers that went with the majority and didn't pit during those middle stages of the race. So got to be happy with that.
Yeah, it definitely worked out better than I would have imagined. Because I thought I was going backwards pretty much the whole time. Like, I felt like after 15 laps, I was just gone. I'm just glad I could hold on with what I had.
It's a 2-week break until our next race, because we should have been having the Olympics around this time of the year. So what are you going to work on before we come back to hopefully come back stronger and better?
Without a doubt, Road to Pro. That's my top priority. I've had really good momentum going into Vegas after a 1 and 2 at Darlington and Dover, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing how you go over there in the Road to Pro series. Who you want to thank? Who are the sponsors that help you make all this possible?
My setup builders for Nexus Esports, they do a great job. Robert Miller worked hard on this. Patrick Moose, James Mullins, they all did a lot of work for this and got us to where we were. Just didn't pan out temperature-wise how we expected it to. So otherwise, a good day.
Well, as always, next round. We'll go to Michigan next time out. Best of luck there. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, Norton coming home in third there. Justin, final thoughts on today's race?
One of the cleanest races so far of the week, have to say. Cleaner than the Coke race. Less cautions than any other NIS this week as well. Fantastic job done by a lot of these drivers tonight, with a lot of comers and goers, but the same parallels as we've seen on Tuesday. But overall, in the end, whoever kept the cleanest car ended up coming away with the checker flag, and whoever had the smartest strategy also damn near put themselves in a great spot with that as well. Now, it's a chance for a lot of the teams to reset and or focus on Road to Pro for the next couple weeks before they head back to the big tracks at Michigan next.
Indeed, going to be a lot of fun. It's the Effect, the Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern broadcast here on the iRacing Esports Network. Some of the best racing all season long. We'll be back after a 2-week break for Michigan at the start of August. By the way, Justin Prince has got a new podcast. Yeah, download. Go check that out if you got the time, if you want some iRacing fix between now and then without the NIS series on a Friday night. But from all of us here in the booth, my name is Ryan Jones. Justin Prince was alongside me, and Jay Kennedy was behind the scenes. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you in a few weeks' time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top. Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go. Oh no!
That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?